Welcome to another episode of People, Their Passion and Purpose. Today I am with Allison. And Allison I know through a business called Purium. And I have seen Allison, flourish in the last few years that I know her. But there's a real story behind it. And I think it's definitely worth telling. This podcast is all about, people's stories of resilience and transformation and hope and change and encouragement and inspiration. So whoever I know, whoever I meet, I always want them to come on and talk to me. And I love your story. I love how you're doing. And I know it was a bit rough for you at the beginning, but now you're going through a really great period in your life. So I want to celebrate that with you. And so tell me a little bit about, I guess, let's start with where you are now a little bit, and then we can go back a little bit, and then it'll make more sense. So now
Mhm.
you are Allison, and you,
Okay, so where I'm at now,
a little bit of
um,
where you're at now, and then we'll go back a little bit, and then we'll come back to yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, because some people see me now, they're like, "Oh, wow, I can never be so healthy and all that stuff." And it's so important people see the journey. So yeah, I love this concept of your podcast and congratulations and thank you so much for inviting me. So I am now a two-star crown leader in Purium. I am a mom of two girls and a very passionate mother. And, I am doing a lot of, I'm in a great place. Like you said, a lot of, I've
Growth
been
in your business.
a lot of growth in my business. We just bought land in California with an amazing vision ahead of building regenerative farm and community space and healing retreat and just all the good stuff. So we're just really optimistic and excited. And we feel, and I feel, for the first time this era, because now it's been going on for a few years, but that I'm in the driver's seat of my life, and I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, that's great. And you're also married to Jared.
Yes.
And you work very closely with Jared. So you have a very close relationship with him. You're together
Oh,
like a lot, working together.
and I don't even mention it. I take it for granted. I'm
Yeah.
like, yes, he's in the other room. I'm so grateful. I'm very happily married. We're going on our 10-year wedding anniversary this summer, and
Oh,
it's been getting better and better, which is,
right.
a beautiful story because we don't often see that example. Yeah.
Right. So now you're in really great health because of how you feed your body, and we can get to that later. And you're enjoying your daughters, and you have a great relationship with your husband, and your business is going well. Let's go back though to, let's say, when you were growing up and how your health was then and what your challenges were then. And then we'll come back and see how those challenges are going.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, I always struggled with feeling I belonged. So I'm from the States. I was born in Boston. We moved here when I was 3 years old. So weirdly, I mean, even though I moved when I was so young, I never really quite felt like I fit in Montreal. Like I don't feel like I'm a Canadian, even though, because I have some roots here. My mother's side of the family is from here. And my father went to school here, but it's just like, this feeling. And then I grew up half Greek, half Jewish, never feeling like I fit into either of those communities. My mother, grew up, I just never really feel like I grew up kind of feeling always a little bit different. And then growing up in school, in our school system, I really struggled. And so the things that I was really good at that I was kind of punished for. So, like I love people, always love people, and you're not really allowed to express that so much in school. That's like, you don't want to talk, you're not allowed to talk and make people laugh, and those are the things I loved. And then I loved drawing and expression, and I liked very out of the box things too. I was very an out of the box thinker, and they diagnosed me with ADD really early on, and I was always monitored with a lot of help and tutors. And then finally, I was put on Ritalin, far too young, in my opinion. But my parents didn't even wait until they waited until what, thought it was a more reasonable time, that I was 11 years old. And, I was just really still developing. And so this drug affected the way my brain worked a lot, affected it gave me a crutch that carried on all the way through my adult years too.
Right.
And my learning disabilities really affected my self-esteem because I did struggle with grades in school and kind of feel maybe I hung out with the wrong groups because of it in a way,
Mhm.
and led me to just very destructive, very self-destructive patterns that, just carried on until really until I got pregnant, and then it's been a journey. But yeah, like I was put basically through the ringer of the mental health system. So from having ADD as a kid, being put, I think, on Ritalin, you know, they're giving it younger now, but it's a drug. It's a real drug. And being then I had other issues that developed, I think, because of side effects from that. I developed anxiety. I was
Mhm.
always so social and loved everyone, but I developed social anxiety. I developed insomnia, and it affected my appetite and a lot of other things. So I was put on one medication after another through my
Right.
20s. And I would often I was living in a very, going through the motions, a lot of fight or flight, a lot of non-control in my life, a lot of victimhood because of, just feeling like the compounds of things that were out of my control happening. And just those cycles just lead you down, kind of downward spirals. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that's where
Wow.
I was at.
And when you met Jared, um, where were you at? How did you meet? And because now you're on this journey together. So when you met him, like what was your vibe together?
Yeah. So Jared expressed interest in me, and I was always going for the bad guys because
Oh.
I had such low self-esteem. I had a sordid past I had a lot of shame in my life, a lot of things that, I just did not feel like a nice guy. I thought if he got to know me, he would reject me or something. So I actually pushed Jared away for many years. He started to like me at like when I was 21, and
Wow.
but I just was really not ready for that. I had to make a lot more mistakes. Finally at 26, I was actually we reconnected, and he had just been so consistent that, he was there for me. And that felt really good in my life at that time. I was ready to have someone who I could, even through all of the pushing away and all of, stuff that he had seen over the years, basically, like I knew at that time I'm ready for, there was a little voice inside me, because there was always that little voice that knew I'm here for something important. I'm here for something bigger. I know things could be better. I always knew that I was a very optimistic kid. So like that was still there. And so I was finally ready to accept someone who was actually good for me.
Wow. That's so cute. Yeah, that's so nice. I didn't know that. That's really nice. And so, you sort of mentioned before that things changed for you when you became pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So your lifestyle with Jared at the beginning was your regular lifestyle. Like, what was it like?
So I was actually more on a healing journey when I reconnected with Jared. I had gone
Mm.
through a lot of this kind of, like, I started doing yoga and learning, like just kind of going down the rabbit hole of like getting healthier.
Mhm.
It was pretty good. And then because I was kind of ready for that comfort of meeting a mate that was like actually good for me, I started to
Mhm.
actually go more towards, he was not healthy. He was eating a lot of junk. And that felt good for me at that time, because I was like, oh, I'm just going to let all my, like, I don't know. I mean, I still wasn't in that place where I don't think I loved myself enough to really like hold strong on my little improvements I was making in my health. So I really went more towards his side of things, started eating. I was vegetarian before we met. And so I started eating animals again, and really going down more of
Mm.
like just comfort. I was happy to be normal for once in my life. I kind of felt like I'm just like, I have a husband, like I have a partner now. I'm just going to like stop that voice that wants me to be like different. Like I just want to fit in. And so I did really, more adopt his lifestyle, which was, yeah, not as healthy.
Good. Not so good. Interesting. And so then you got pregnant.
Mhm. So we were drinking a lot every weekend, really living the kind of, the mile end lifestyle. And I was really happy. Jared had a cool group of friends. So I was, just going along, and we didn't mean to get pregnant. We actually got pregnant by accident. We had only been dating a few months in a serious way. And I really felt like, actually, when I found out I was pregnant, I had been binge drinking. I'd been drinking a lot.
Mm.
So that was a wake up call for me. Then I got pregnant. I was like, oh my God, I'm not ready. Jared wasn't ready to be a dad either. Jared was like, we're not ready for this. Let's abort and we'll do it when we're ready. But there was this really like strong voice in me that said, this is coming to save me. Like this is a way, like I needed something outside of myself to really get a grip on my health. And so I used that pregnancy to, so I thought, do help, like, there's always levels. It's like what I thought was healthy at the time, wasn't so healthy. Maybe I could have definitely, I wish I was doing better, but I was at that time waking up.
Mhm.
And still within my first pregnancy, I was still actually on a small dose of my medications because the doctors assured me it's totally safe. I was still drinking coffee. I was still, even, like in the culture, it's like, oh, it's okay to have a little wine. I was like kind of being moderate, but still what the normal moms around me were doing. And I was not aware of eating organic. So even though I thought I was eating healthy, I was not aware of that. So yeah. And then with my second pregnancy, that was like my bigger wake up. So my second pregnancy, I actually had this, I think I watched like a Ricky Lake documentary on Netflix, which is called The Business of Being Born. And I was like, oh my God, it was like a big wake up. And so I actually decided to have a birthing center pregnancy, all natural. And I was with a circle of mom friends that were all about like, give me all the drugs. Yeah, like it's cool to like be normal and everything. And so like it was pretty out there for me to like be taking that stance. And a lot of people didn't like it even. I had a lot of people who, were pretty against that. And but it was a really big awakening for me to go through that journey. And that was empowering. That was like a really big empowerment. And then actually when Junie was dairy intolerant. So that was like also she came with this little gift, which she was like, you don't need dairy. And I actually never knew I didn't need dairy. I always thought I did need dairy. So I
Right.
got to experiment living without dairy. And I was like, oh, like I'm doing actually better. Like it helped me feel a lot better. And then I was actually, but like I said, I didn't know about glyphosate. I didn't know about a lot of other things. And I
And I'm
actually,
sure, sorry, but I'm sure people listening also don't know about any of that stuff. Like many people don't really know about that stuff. So they'll have to look up like glyphosate. But this is all like what we're talking about now is about, eating very, very clean. So can continue. Sorry, I
yeah,
just wanted to
it's
throw that
totally a
in.
journey, right? Yeah, like
Yeah.
I just cutting out the dairy, started to feel some little improvements. And so you start to feel like, but when a few months, like, or maybe about a year in, Jared was working really long hours. Suddenly it's winter because I had a, early summer baby. Suddenly, like, this is when all this stuff really hit me, where I was alone with the two kids. They were 3 and baby. And I experienced some severe postpartum depression
Oh.
and depletion because I was breastfeeding both of my babies at the same time and I wasn't nourishing myself properly. And basically, I had a very kind of a manic episode where I felt I didn't feel safe to be at home with the kids. I felt like I was on the brink of insanity. Like I just couldn't
Mm.
control my emotions. I was, very erratic. And so I was already in therapy, but I went and, started basically another level of, I was like,
Mhm.
I got referred to the Allen Memorial Institute and was diagnosed with bipolar and postpartum psychosis shortly after
Mm.
Junie was born. And I was put back on very strong medications, which really at that time I was awake enough to know I need to get off medications. but I also knew I needed to be a functional mom and I didn't know a way out. So it was like the devil that I chose
Yeah.
at that time. And then I just wish this came to me sooner, but my friend was like I was kind of Facebook friends with this other girl who was like, I was inspired by her. She also was one of these people like, oh, I can't do what she's doing. She's like
Mm.
next level healthy. But she asked me, she's like, do you know about, because she saw it, my struggle. I was like expressing myself on social media because I was looking for community. I was
Yeah.
really looking for support.
Yeah.
And especially as, isolated with alone with the kids, like we don't have that built into our society, and I really needed that. So I was expressing myself, the struggles I was going through, some of them and stuff like that, and I was also trying to help other people because I have this like I wanted to help people, and so I was like doing like health bowls for people. I was educating people where I knew there was like I was seeing improvements, but also at the same time looking for help.
Yeah.
And yeah, so she reached out to me and said, have you ever heard of glyphosate? So this is where I'll tell people about glyphosate who haven't heard about it. But
Right.
I said, no, I've never heard that word before. And she's like, just look it up. She's like, I want you to, because a lot of you're talking, I know you're eating healthy. You're talking a lot about nutrition, but I noticed you're juicing and that's amazing. She was like really encouraging, but she was like, I feel like there's this missing piece that a lot of people don't realize. And she saw that I was struggling with my mental health
Mm-hmm.
and my skin health. I had skin
Mm-hmm.
issues that were very apparent.
Mm-hmm.
And so she said, this really could be a case of like glyphosate toxicity, and most people suffer with it. They don't know. And I have a solution if you're open to it. And I was open. Luckily, I was
Wow.
open.
Wow. So that was the biomedic,
Yeah. The
which is the
whole
pre and probiotic and the whole Purium kit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was like, at that time, I didn't realize like I was manifesting something like that because I was already doing all these things
Mm-hmm.
separately. Like I was already into the green juice, and I was already into like, I was already like all the things, it was like all the things I was already doing all in one. And then with this
Yeah.
missing piece, which was the glyphosate detox, which I didn't even know I needed.
Right.
So yeah, it was really, I started to see benefits really, really quickly. And like I said, I had been doing so many other things that I was seeing little increments of benefits, but this one was a bigger one. It was like, wow.
Right.
Like, yeah,
Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting, like, we're just talking a lot about food and health and things like that. It is a journey, and it doesn't happen overnight, and your habits change, over time. And so no one should ever think that, they just do it like this and that's it. Um, because it has to be something that comes naturally, like, and that does happen over time. So, you know, and so your challenges when you were younger with school and learning and things like that. Then you were an adult and you had to, you were working. So, what challenges did you have when you were working? And then how happy are you now? And what challenges are you overcoming and challenging yourself with today? Like that's
yeah,
really cool. That's important.
that's
I think.
huge.
Yeah.
That's part of the healing was absolutely this actually it was the business because I struggled going into the career world. I struggled with the same kind of learning disability stuff that was holding me back in school, my lack of focus. And I just couldn't be a good, like I always cared too much actually. So I was never really valued for the things that I was trying to bring to the table, but a lot of other things that weren't appreciated or valued. So I was in the fashion industry. I went into fashion because, well, I like to draw, and there was not many other options for me in the school world. So I struggled with school, but I made it through and was working in different facets of the fashion industry. Truly, I never felt like I actually found my place there in that world. What I wanted to do, I always wanted to be sustainable, and it just actually went against a lot of my values. And I wanted to, and I loved restyling vintage clothing, and there's just no money in that. Like I was not able to make it. It was kind of a hobby on the side. And I just tried to make ends meet. I would have to work for companies that were not in alignment and didn't appreciate. So I struggled all through actually getting probably fired from every job I ever did, which is like really bad for the self-esteem over and
Very
over.
bad.
Yeah, very. And so, yeah, Jared, tried to like get me jobs on movie sets, and and I was just like, there was all these different things I was trying to do,
Mm,
And I never really found myself being valued or like shining in anything.
right, right. And so now um the experiences you're having now, working as a two-star crown, which in Purium is a certain level of acceleration, let's say in the business, um, and not being on any meds, right?
Zero.
Zero meds, and you know, like uh I'm feeding yourself with plants, but you're feeding yourself with plants also.
Oh,
Um, how do what is the difference? Like there's an essence that I'm sure you can find the right words for that explain how you feel different, as a human being.
yes. Well, I think there's something we're all lacking in the business world, or actually just in our whole world, which is support, like the proper support where we're actually heard and seen and celebrated. And I think that has a huge power to impact. It is a power to bring out the best in everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not often in environments that bring out our best.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that this is just the same way the right food will create an environment in your body that it can start to heal itself. The
Mm-hmm.
right support will create that environment for us to rise to our highest potential.
Mm-hmm.
So that is really what resonates with me about this business, that
Mm-hmm.
it is all about celebrating
Mm-hmm.
each other and supporting, and we're even incentivized to do it. So it's, yeah.
And I was just wondering, like, do you feel like, does your brain work differently? Do you feel like, what little sort of changes, like without being on the medication and being on the medication and before and after, and, considering the food you're eating, like, and all your experience of life too, you went through a lot. So you're still very young, but you also experienced a lot and you're very sensitive, like you're talking about when you're 3 years old, leaving Boston, you never felt like you belonged, how at 3 years old do you know that, so you're a very sensitive person, which comes with a cost. So do you feel like your brain is different? Like what is
Yes. Yes. I think it stems from, because our gut is our brain. And I really think addressing our gut health is, I wish that my parents had known this, of course, when I was younger, but like that is the first place to look. It's like, what are, if there's someone who's struggling with their mental health, we need to look at the gut. And then my brain like rewired itself. So because I was on medications for so long, my, and because of all the stress that I had been through, like, it's like I can write like I just went through so much stress. I was living in fight or flight,
Mm,
all and always feeling out of control. So what this did for me was it empowered me to heal myself, which puts us into like a place of being like, what we can't control the world around us, but what we can control is, what we're putting in our bodies every day
mm,
and how much that affects our mood. And then also this environment, like we said, with the support and this business opportunity, it's been very calming on my nervous system.
mhm,
So I do find myself able to handle situations that I've never even raised my voice. Like, so since I started this journey with gut health, and I
mhm,
used to have really erratic mood swings, I've never lost my voice. I've never raised my voice at my girls, or like,
mhm,
not, of course, like if there's something in danger, I will, but never like in a scolding way where I used to kind of get out of control. And I, really know that um my problem solving skills have just incredibly, like, I'm able to see a situation that would have stressed me out because I remember how certain situations would make me feel. I'm able to find tools and
mhm,
actual, really easy tools. Some of them may be what we're putting in our body, or, other practices that I'm able to know I can come back to myself,
mhm.
even if I do, like, yeah, life happens, but I feel so in control. And that is a gift that I take so sacredly. I'll never take for granted, because I know what it feels like to live at the mercy of life and not in the driver's seat.
Hmm. It's like self-regulating, it's all about self-regulating and and being able to do that. So yeah, it sounds like you've done a lot of self-work and self-discovery for sure. So you've been to, you've done it through maybe psychologists or some sort of therapists. You've done it through good food.
I would just want to say that I was in therapy my whole life,
Yeah.
and now and I even wanted to be a psychologist. I dropped out of school, but I realized a lot of people who are in that field are learning it through textbook, not through their own personal experience. Not, and some people, yeah, like a lot of people go through it for sure. They've been through their own, but I just find I wish I had known that it's not about talking about our problems. That we don't need more of that. We need it's like I realized all the traumas I suffered with and all the circumstances that were keeping me in those spirals of thought patterns and everything, like they all went away when I started healing my gut. So I
Hey.
would say I'm like unlearning a lot of psychology, like a lot of the psychology, people become self-absorbed. They become like
Mm,
analytical of themselves, so good at talking about themselves, but are they really healing at their root? Like, are they improving
mm,
their life? I don't know. I don't know.
mm, mhm. So for you, like it's really the gut. That was
Yes.
your experience. It's the gut. Wow. And so now you're living such a different life, and your challenges are different now. Like, let's say before you might have had challenges with your relationships, what do you find challenging these days? We have like a couple more minutes. What do you find
Okay.
challenging these days? What do you
Good
what do you
question.
about?
Yeah, well, it's the people that we always care about the most sometimes that are least receptive to us. So I've been able to help a lot of well, not strangers now because they're all like family, but I've been able to help a lot of people that weren't close to me before, and that's been incredibly rewarding. But what that void in me is really helping the ones closest to me, and that's the hardest challenge I face is getting to also because I don't have a school background. I don't have any degrees in this and I'm just self-taught. I'm super passionate, and that's been my focus. I probably could have a PhD from all the research I've done, and work and physically been through with it and helped so many people with. But I like a lot of people need that credential, and so there's a lot of resistance in my immediate community and people around me. And
Mhm.
that is the biggest challenge is getting to because I wasn't always maybe that person that people would come to listen to for this
Yeah.
kind of I have to yeah.
Mm. But I guess it's also a challenge to like let people do what they need to do for
Yes,
themselves. So
let it
that's
go.
so
I
challenging to like let that go. It's a
that's my
constant challenge in your life.
yeah, that's my biggest. I was gonna get that if I get any tattoo. I'm like that one that I've seen. Let them, or just like you have to let people, and that's my biggest. What I'm learning the most
Mhm.
is I'm great at holding space. I'm very patient. And I know that people do come around when people are like not ready to heal, and I know they need this. I always just hear not yet. I don't hear a no. So I hold space but sometimes, yeah, it's hard to see people around you suffer when you know you can help them and just letting go of that need.
Yeah. So now, you wake up in the morning, and I would assume like, when you used to wake up, when you used to be on medication and stuff, what was it like waking up in the morning?
Okay, I was waking up a lot of times in the night. I was always
Mm,
never like able to sleep through the night.
mm,
I never even knew that was possible. Like I was just always like multiple times up. I would wake up so groggy. When I was on sleeping pills, the really hard stuff, because I was on melatonin for many
mm.
years, but that stopped working for me. Then I had to go into the harder stuff. That knocked me out. And I
Right.
did sleep through the night, but I would wake up groggy AF, like never feeling well rested. I would need
Mhm.
multiple cups of coffee through the day.
Mm,
And that was pretty much, how I started the day.
yeah. And now you probably wake up after a cup of apothecary, you wake up fresh and delicious every morning
Nice
because I
to
know
meet
the product. So you're really all about like your whole being right now is just being and feeding yourself these great nutrients and loving the people around you and spreading your message, right? Am I
yeah.
right?
You're killing it. Yeah.
And that's and that's what it is. And so you found, you found your passion, you found what you love, and you're living your life actually the way seems to me after talking to you and knowing you a little bit from before, but you're living your life the way you've always seen it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're living it.
Yeah. And I'm able to dream. And with
Yeah.
Jared, we're able to come together and think up wild dreams that we wouldn't have allowed ourselves to even talk about before because it was so far from possibility. So that is truly, yeah.
Amazing. So
Yeah.
that's great. And congratulations for all of that.
Thank
And then,
you.
so if you want to leave us with one little nugget of, I'm kind of assuming what it might be, what you're going to say, but one nugget of, giving someone who's really feeling down and not so great today or whenever they hear this podcast, what would you say? Because you were in a hard place. For those of you listening, she's closing her eyes.
Well, I would say that they're not alone
Hmm.
and they have an important reason to be here. Every single one of us has gifts that are, that we can bring. And I would say to, definitely find people around you who are going to support you. It's very important, the right support. Make sure that you reach out to, and it could be someone who is living a life that you want, because oftentimes, like, we can learn so much from some. Like, I used to get jealous of people who were in higher places of where I wanted to be, but I learned to embrace that if someone has, if I'm getting triggered by the jealousy or comparison to other people and where they're at, I would say instead lean in and be a little inspired. And
Hmm.
what you're triggered by is what that little voice inside you, what you deserve to, what you want to. And I would really just encourage that people stay open. There's angels out there that are here to help. So stay open. Yeah.
That's an amazing message. Allison, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You just shined a light on all of us. You really did. It's really
Thank you.
exciting. So good luck with everything. And to all of you, thank you so much for stopping by and listening to my podcast with Allison. It's People, Their Passion and Purpose, and I will see you next time. Have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye, Sharon.